Kathy Engelbert, the WNBA, the team owners, the Players Association, in the split of an instance, all of it can change. In a split instance, all of it can change. If this injury does anything, it should be a wake-up call to the WNBA, the Players Association, the team owners, that just like that, all this fanfare, all this interest, all this newfound attention on the league can disappear overnight.
According to the WNBA, if they roughed up Caitlin Clark every night, the crowd would clap like it was halftime at a middle school game. Oh no, a plot twist. Fans aren't just upset with Clark's body check, which occurred during Game 7 of the NHL Finals, but they're also boycotting the game as if it were Black Friday and the officials had stolen their coupons. There is currently a full-court protest, despite the league's desire for physical play. Who knew that teasing your MVP ticket sales was the first step toward equality? Well, be ready as we dive straight into this story. It was recently revealed that Caitlin Clark will be absent for at least having a quad injury for 2 weeks. What does this mean for the WNBA? The WNBA had hoped for a quiet, drama-free season. Could this injury have been avoided? Can the Indiana Fever win without her? That is, because Caitlin Clark's team decided it had other plans just when everything appeared to be going well, with ratings skyrocketing, jerseys flying off the shelves, and every Fever game being treated like a Taylor Swift concert. She is currently benched. The WNBA is silently worrying behind closed doors while feigning that everything is fine, while fans are acting as though the Earth has fallen out of orbit. It's not.
The back. We know Caitlin Clark was lost yesterday to an injury for at least 2 weeks. Now, the thing about it is they're going to reevaluate in 2 weeks. And of course, man, these teams, I told you earlier, these WNBA franchises that moved games like the Chicago Sky to the, United Arena, you're screwed. You're done. You're cooked. Nobody is going to show up to this thing. Chicago Sky can't sell out their own 9,000-something seat arena like it is. They couldn't when they were kind of decent.
2 weeks. Clark has been sitting out with a strained quadriceps for that long. Not a single tear or break, yet enough to completely change the league's narrative. Her thigh essentially requested paid time off. While the WNBA tries to maintain the attention, the focal point of the Fever's franchise is currently sitting on the bench. The reactions, they've been subtle. If you mean a complete public meltdown by subtle.
Oh my God, guys, breaking news. Caitlin Clark is hurt. I didn't believe it when I saw it myself. She's injured. She has a quad injury, a left quad injury. It's a quadriceps strain. And the team announced today, about 2 hours ago, she's going to be out 2 weeks at the minimum. 2 weeks. Without Caitlin Clark, this team is finished.
Emotional. Walkouts are already being staged by Clark's fans, also known as the most ardent merchandise-wearing Twitter Kakalak supporters since Michael Jordan stood. I will stop observing until Clark returns because they have transformed a little injury into a revolution. Without her, this league isn't worth anything. The WNBA should be boycotted. These individuals are behaving as though their puppy was stolen, and their grandmother was personally slapped by the league. Every other player, meanwhile, is out here saying, "Hey, we exist too." In contrast, the internet replies, "Not now, sweetie."
It's the latter. It could mean that Caitlin Clark could potentially miss the rest of the season. This 2-week timetable that people are running with, that's just when Caitlin Clark is going to be reevaluated. As of now, she will be reevaluated on June 9th. That does not mean, and it's highly unlikely, that June 9th or shortly thereafter is when Caitlin Clark is cleared to...
As Indiana, they're rapidly learning what life is like without their golden goose, though. The Caitlin Clark program is currently not airing. Kelsey Mitchell is playing like she has 3 lungs, while Aaliyah, Boston, is currently using duct tape to attempt to keep the entire team together. Boston is bouncing back like she is battling ghosts. Additionally, like in the Hunger Games, coach Stephanie White is revising game plans. However, given that the teams facing them in the upcoming games have been about as dangerous as lukewarm soup, the Fever might actually stay afloat, not to offend the Chicago Sky. All right, a slight offense.
No way. Every team's going to come at them and try to take them out, especially without Caitlin. They're going to lose some games here, and that's going to set them back. It's really hard to believe this, but yeah, she's out. There's no other details. When did this happen? Could have happened in this game. We're not sure. Most likely at a practice yesterday. She's out for 2 weeks, man.
However, let's be honest. The highlight videos, scoreboard, or even the actual basketball aren't the most important aspects of the WNBA. Seeing the league attempt to act as though it's still a party when the main event is Caitlin Clark was recently placed on the bench. Prior to her injury, Clark was the talk of the town and wasn't just mentioned as MVP. Some did attempt to portray her as a long shot, as if she was only competent for a novice, but that would be equivalent to claiming Beyoncé is suitable for a singer. Please understand that Caitlin wasn't merely increasing numbers. Rather, she was bringing a whole franchise back to prominence like a one-woman rescue effort. She was in charge of the ratings, sellouts, celebrity shoutouts, yelling fans, and nosebleeds from sporting glitter glue-made jerseys. She brought more than simply exhilaration. She restarted the WNBA's algorithm by herself. We're talking about stadiums that broke attendance records and suddenly recalled what it's like to be packed, with merchandise flying off the racks more quickly than Taylor Swift tickets. Additionally, the Queen is currently momentarily off the board, and everyone is acting as if the league wasn't merely circling her gravitational pull and that this MVP race is suddenly open. 5 minutes prior. Adorable.
Out for a minimum of 2 weeks with a quad strain. And our next question is, what does this mean for the Fever? So Cece is going to be missing the second Sky rematch since playing them the first weekend of the season, which is definitely a bummer. But on the bright side, this injury doesn't seem too bad. It's just some quad tightness. But fear not, Fever fans. We talked to Caitlin earlier this month, and she doesn't seem too worried about the depth of this roster.
So I think our depth is probably what I would worry about the most. You know, if somebody doesn't have it one night, you're just going to the next person on the bench and the next person. And, you know, we're going to have to be able to find a way to use that to the best of our ability.
Caitlin seems like she has faith in her team, but we will see how this squad performs on the court without.
Fever, meanwhile, are quietly working things out back in Indiana, and they might benefit from it. Because the rest of the team is stepping up without Clark doing literally everything, and when she returns, relaxed, refocused, and completely finished with all the commotion, buckle up. Imagine if after 2 weeks of quad therapy, Clark stormed out onto the court, drained threes from the parking lot, and silenced anybody who dared to contradict her. It's an encore, not just a comeback. The actual kicker is right here. If the Fever is able to endure this portion of maintain your competitiveness and possibly even pull off a few close victories, they're going to be a major issue because, with Mitchell fired up and Clark healthy, Boston will have more momentum than a freight train and could spoil the playoffs. Therefore, even though Caitlin Clark is temporarily wounded, the WNBA is still in operation, perhaps louder than before because all of the storylines are now boiling simultaneously. MVP drama conspiracy theories, rising artists fan feuds, and Clark's eventual return tour.
About Caitlin Clark being in the MVP race, it is announced that she suffered a left quad injury and she is going to miss at least 2 weeks. And this is such a bummer because the Fever were off to a great start this season. Caitlin Clark was playing out of her mind. She had already broken some records in the first 3 games, and now she's going to be sidelined for 2 weeks. We'll see how the team will hold up without her. Obviously, she's the primary ball handler, playmaker, and shot maker. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully they can sustain and just hold even at 500 or better, and she can get back and keep them.
Here's a reality check for all the supporters who are boycotting the league until their basketball messiah comes back. It's like watching the WNBA after the main performer has left the stage when Caitlin isn't there. Although there is a lot of skill in the league, without her, the drama is at best lukewarm and the sparks are absent. Send a furious tweet from your beanbag with a Clark theme, because the WNBA is surviving rather than changing, and when she returns, it will be more than just basketball. We're in this strange contradiction where the games are running more smoothly, but no one is watching, but it will be the show we've all been waiting for. There won't be any more viral fouls or arguments over whether that was an exorcism effort or a hard foul. The conversation has subsided without Clark being body checked every 5 minutes, and that's precisely what the WNBA is most afraid of since controversy sells. As much as the league strives to emphasize basketball brilliance, let's face it, numbers increased after Kaylin was struck in the jaw rather than after a flawless backdoor cut was made. When Enrique Ambal dropped 30, the headlines didn't blow up. When someone tweeted assault after Clark was heavily fouled, they erupted. Chaos has been providing the WNBA with free publicity, and now that their chaos engine is benched, they are anxiously examining the stat sheets as if they were their credit card bill. Oh, and let's not even talk about the merchandise. Pallets of Caitlin Clark jerseys are just lying there in a warehouse somewhere like, hey, remember us? As soon as she hobbled off the court, sales slowed, and the accountants are perspiring, as if they had just made a 2024 Beanie Babies investment. 12 games. The WNBA's equivalent of an eclipse would be Caitlin Clark's absence, which would be extremely unpleasant for anyone attempting to sell tickets.
Human after all, Dan. She's going to be out for at least a couple of weeks, it appears.
Yeah, you know what's interesting about Caitlin Clark? Remember last year, she played in the Final Four. Right after that, she went immediately to the WNBA. Draft came, season started, and, didn't miss a beat. And all of a sudden, she got a little rest and comes back, gets a little banged up.
And now, fans are acting like babies who have misplaced their Happy Meal toy by having tantrums, which is what they do best. She should have gone to Europe, cries fill entire comment sections, since it's the sensible way to avoid getting wounded, of course. Prepare to leave the continent. It seems that dunking on Lithuanian 19-year-olds for $5,000 a week speeds up the healing of the quadriceps. However, let's discuss the story of why she ought to have been to Europe. First of all, because oligarchs don't worry about wage limitations, the pay is frequently higher elsewhere. Second, it's true that basketball fans in Europe treat their queens like royalty. However, Clark didn't visit the WNBA for solace. She came to take control, and it's not easy when half the league treats you like a piñata and the other half acts like they don't care about everything you do. Speaking of obsession, let us take a moment to silence those who despise Caitlin Clark. Their hate watch rituals were only beginning to take shape. They had the memes, tweets, and breathless, overrated, and readily bookmarked, but now there is radio silence. Watching someone who isn't acting is difficult. They resemble villains from sitcoms who abruptly lost their star actress and are seen walking around with too much time and too many opinions.
Big news just released by the Indiana Fever. Caitlin Clark has suffered a quad injury, and she's going to be out for a minimum of 2 weeks. Really bad news for people going to games at home, hoping to see Caitlin.
In the meantime, Angel Reese is utilizing the spotlight to the fullest. She is showcasing her trash talk skills and transforming post-game press conferences into TED lectures about media bias and haters. The kicker is this: it's functioning. The drama is great. Ree is promoting her company each time she appears wearing high-end attire and pulls down 15 rebounds. Clark may have drawn the people in with his unrepentant, unconcerned, and domineering demeanor, but Ree is stirring things up while the queen is sleeping. Not to be forgotten, Clark-Ree was intended to be the major event, the rematch, and the game of the week. Everyone was salivating over the ratings bonanza that was Fever versus Caitlin versus Angel. But now it's like going to WrestleMania and learning that Rock remained at home. The show continues, but it doesn't have the same impact. And when the league's marketing crew had to stop using all of those Clash of Titans commercials, don't think they didn't cry during their conference call. It now resembles watching two up-and-coming teams attempt to avoid tripping over each other's missed layups. Let's zoom out a little, though. In fact, Caitlin Clark's injury might be the WNBA's best development. Remain with me. The league is being forced to demonstrate that it has several stars, which is why fans are being forced to meet players they haven't followed, acknowledge excellence that isn't popular on TikTok, and realize that Clark is only the start of a movement rather than its entirety.
Demigorgon. I was watching the WNBA. There was nothing on the TV, so I said, why do I just support women? I'm a proud feminist anyways. It was one of the worst things I've ever watched. All I saw was straight bricks. But Caitlin Clark might be a Demigorgon. That girl can hoop. I will.
We're seeing in real time the Angel Reese psychological meltdown as she's actually being forced to grasp the fact that the thing that she is best at in her life, which is basketball, Caitlin Clark is exponentially better.
Videos of Kayla Copper lighting it up for the Mercury appear out of nowhere. The fact that Brianna Stewart is still a walking bucket is being remembered. Players that consistently play without being viral, like Dirkika Hamby, are now receiving flowers. These days, the league displays depth in talent and true team identity. Consider that. Additionally, you can bet that the Fever will reach a new peak when Clark and she return. If anything, this pause is stoking the flames. Her return won't be a fleeting one. Any player who undervalued her during her absence should hope she doesn't return with threes raining down from the sky, because it will be a resurrection, a statement, and an event. The Fever isn't the true loser here. It's not Clark. It's not even the league. Because they missed Collier's ascent, the true losers are the fans who gave up as soon as she was listed as injured. They missed the opportunity to see a league finally be pushed to expand beyond its most well-known moniker, and that's the kind of lost opportunity you can't simply revisit on ESPN+. They missed Ree's evolution in real time. After a week without Caitlin Clark, the WNBA has not only persevered, but also adjusted. Additionally, it will be tried once again in a few games, because there won't be any excuses when she gets back. No grace period for rookies. No acclimatization to professional play. Her attempt to make up for lost time using lightning netting and silencing any critics who believed her injury was the end of the journey lasted about 40 minutes.